What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to be looking at the Douchebags 90 litre luggage bag and the North Face Rolling Thunder. So I'm going to be comparing the two and give you a conclusion at the end as to which I think is the best bag. So let's waste no time, let's get straight into it, let's go. Okay, so one thing to address right off the bat with this, I'm going to refer to the big B word from Douchebags as their big bag from here on, because let's face it, the name is a bit of an odd one, and I'm just going to use that for future. So these two bags occupy the same place in the market. They're a similar price, they're should do a similar thing. So we're going to look at kind of the design, the function, and just kind of an overall comparison of the two. So I've been using the Rolling Thunder for the last couple of years, but I've also been using Douchebags bags for a similar amount of time. So although this new camo re-release version is brand new, I have been using these two brands for quite some time. If you'd like to take a look at my comparison of the backpacks that they do, that's on my channel as well. There'll be a link in the description and at the end of the video, but let's check this one out first, shall we? So first off is the design. And it's clear when you look at these two things which company is focused on design and which company is focused on performance. But you didn't need me to tell you that. You know, just by knowing the brands Douchebag and North Face. You know, North Face is making technical equipment for climbing mountains, and Douchebags is making cool equipment, yes, for skiing and stuff like that, but realistically it's about the aesthetics. However, I think these two bags are trying to occupy the same place in the market, so it's worth comparing the two. But when you look at design, realistically, the Douchebags is running away with it, at least on the face of things. You know, they're clearly paying a lot of attention to the looks, the camo, the kind of how sleek it all looks, and that's great. Whereas the North Face is definitely going for that kind of somewhere between one of those, their signature waterproof kind of duffel bags and a roll-along bag itself. So it's a bit of an odd comparison here because they're two totally different aesthetics, right? One is realistically all about the looks. The other is designed to look a certain way, but it's a totally different aesthetic. And you don't need me to kind of form your opinion on how these look. Realistically, I think the Douchebags looks great. That's why I bought it. I wanted to get this bag and for it to replace the Rolling Thunder in my life, in my kind of travel setup. I love the kind of the black camo look. I love those little red tweaks just on the little bits here and there that clearly show this has been thought about. However, you've got a similar deal on the Rolling Thunder. You got just the red buttons right on the top and the white writing down the side of the handle. Again, it shows that there's clearly a fair bit of design that's gone into this to make it look more than just function, more than just pure function. However, Douchebags clearly are all about the looks. But realistically, there's only so much I can say here that isn't clear by just looking at them, you know? So let's talk more about the kind of function of these two. And here's where we really start to see a difference between these two bags, at least in my opinion. And realistically, this is where the Rolling Thunder starts to just walk away from the Douchebags, because there's not a single part that I've found that the Douchebags does in terms of function that the Rolling Thunder isn't doing the same or better. So it's no secret that luggage attendants in airports like to abuse your luggage. Okay, now I've used this Rolling Thunder for years and you can see the damage that's there. Like, it's a sizable amount of damage, but it's not something that I'm worried about with this bag. However, had I been using the Douchebags for the same amount of time, it's hard to say that that wouldn't now have totally ruined the aesthetics of the bag, which, remember, is kind of its main selling point, is its looks. Now, if you've used this for 2 years and it's got scratches and stuff like that, it's going to wreck the look of your really, really expensive bag, right? Whereas if you've got scratches and dents and stuff all over the Rolling Thunder, it almost plays into the aesthetic of that bag, doesn't it? You know, that kind of mountain climber look. That's what this bag is going for anyway. But more than that, you get the impression it can take it. And I think that's exemplified on the back of the bag, the kind of structural side of it. It's clear that the Douchebags here is flimsy. Just putting some weight on the top of the handle, you can see the flex in the back of the bag, which for a £300 bag, which you know is going to be carrying lots of equipment, and you know 90 litres is a big bag, that's going to be heavy. You don't want flex in that under a little bit of pressure. Whereas when you look then at the Rolling Thunder, you can see this big kind of bowl of reinforced plastic that's keeping this thing rigid. From the handle down to the wheels, there is no give at all. Whereas all you've got for reinforcement in the Douchebags is these two little bits of plastic, which are bog standard on even your cheapest bag out of the store, which is not really something that I would expect from a bag as expensive as this one, especially on a limited edition one. And again, when we look at the Rolling Thunder, you've got things like the clips that you can tighten to really strap things down. The handle itself is reinforced. You see it's got those ridges so that it's not going to bend or break. You're not getting any of that with the Douchebags. And I think here is where we need to look at the overall picture of these two bags. And I think, again, as I said earlier, this is really where you've got to look at the brands themselves and what they're aiming for. North Face is a tried and tested brand making hardcore stuff for travel, for all of that, and has been around for years. Douchebags is a relatively new company which thrives off its design and its hookup function. Great, I love it. But these are not the same thing. These are not tried and tested in the same way that North Face stuff is. It's just not, it can't be. And realistically, it's hard to see myself using a Douchebags luggage bag long term without there being problems. I can't say that with complete certainty because I haven't used one of their big luggage bags for a while. But when you're paying this amount of money for anything, but especially something like luggage, you need to be impressed right off the bat with it. Of course you do. And you also have essentially bought the right to be picky over what you're buying because it's so much money. And that's when attention to detail is key. Is when you're spending this much money, every little bit of it needs to be perfect. Because otherwise, you'd rather spend a third of the price and buy something that is essentially doing the same thing as your expensive bag. Now, obviously, we can't talk about Douchebags without talking about their hookup system, which is great. And this is something that obviously no other company is doing because it's kind of their signature thing. Now, if you have a couple of other Douchebags products already, first off, you know that, okay, you care a lot about the looks, of course. I can speak as an owner of a few of their things. I do care about the looks. So you can buy into that whole hookup system. And as great as that is for wheeling things around, and you can hook up your backpack and maybe your camera pack all into the one thing and maybe your ski bag as well. But realistically, how often are you doing that? Yes, it replaces a trolley in the airport or whatever, but the actual period of time you're doing that for, is that worth sacrificing a bunch of other features for? It's hard to say. It's hard to say. There's only been a couple of instances, and I travel a lot. I spend probably 30 weeks of the year on the road. There's probably only been a couple of instances where I'm like, damn, I wish I could kind of consolidate these bags into one. And yet there's a bunch of times when I've picked my bag off the carousel at the airport, this Rolling Thunder, and thought, I am so glad that this bag is sturdy because they have treated this thing like rubbish. One time it came out all covered in grease and oil, and I literally had to find some toilet tissue to wipe it off, otherwise it was going to stain all my clothes. And I'm not sure I'd have that same reliance on the Douchebags bag in that same instance. And I think that happens more than I wish I had a hookup system, or I wish that it looked camo or anything like that. So I think as we wrap this up, it's not to say that the Douchebags is a bad bag. Far from it. It's not to say that the North Face bag looks bad, because it doesn't. Far from it. They're very similar in a lot of ways, but when you start to pay attention to the detail and to the longevity of these really expensive pieces, that's when the Rolling Thunder really does start to, kind of go into its own. And again, I think that comes down to the company itself. I think if you're looking for a really functional day bag, something like that, you'd get a Douchebags over a North Face kind of backpack any day. If you're just traveling to cities and stuff, cool, get a Douchebags backpack. But when you're talking about actual travel and functional stuff, it's got to be the North Face, because they're tried, tested, and this bag kind of exemplifies everything that they're doing and how much better the quality is there. So obviously I love both of these bags. I spent a lot of money getting these two. So I buy into the concept of Douchebags. I buy into their hookup. I buy into the North Face just the same. I have literally bought into both of those. So I get it. I get both sides of this. However, I ultimately have to pick one here that is going to be my bag going forward, because the times I travel with two bags is not very often. And ultimately, I'm going to be going with the North Face Rolling Thunder, just because from bottom to top, and I mean that literally, from the sturdiness of the wheels all the way up to the rigidity of the handle, that big reinforced plastic bottom, the extra waterproof flap on the top over the zip, even the quality of the zip outdoes the looks of the Douchebag for me. I love the way the Douchebags looks. I wanted it to work for me. I wanted to get that out and fall in love with it. I wanted it to be as sturdy as the Rolling Thunder. I wanted it to hold its shape just as well, so that I could rely on it from year to year. And ultimately, I don't know that I can do that. And like I've said a few times, at that price, you have to be able to. So I hope that's kind of given you an insight into these two bags, and maybe helped you make a decision on which bag you want to get, or maybe it's just curiosity. Regardless, I hope it's been helpful. Please do hit like and subscribe down below. It would mean the world to me. But regardless, have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching. Bye, guys.